And then I was like, no, I really want to make something that's just my own, that I write and I star in and I produce. And I had always looked like Wednesday Addams was always a weird part of my identity, because when I was a preteen, I looked so much like Christina Ricci. Like when she was very popular, like Now and Then, like I was like 10.
Okay.
And we looked so much alike at that point, where I would get stopped. I would get stopped on the promenade. Like,
what?
Because I was in LA and people would think I was her.
Wow. That's hilarious.
But then I was not popular in middle school, and I would get called Wednesday by this bully who would be like, smile Wednesday. Oh, why so gloomy Wednesday? And I like hated it, because all the girls in my class were like blonde and tan and smiley. And I was just like this weird girl. And
when you got approached on like the promenade, did you embrace it, or did you just like, no, get out of here?
I was like, oh, it's not me. One time I signed an autograph and pretended.
There you go.
Because I was like, oh,
improv.
It was fun for me, and it was fun for her. We all had a good time.
Yeah,
she's probably listening to this like, and like tears it up. But yeah. So and then in like 2012, I was Wednesday for Halloween, kind of on a whim, because my friends were going out, and it got such a big reaction on like in person and on social media that I was like, really got to do something with this. And I was like, that'd just be fun if like to see what Wednesday is like as an adult.
Yeah.
And then I was like, nah, anyway. And then just like went on with my life. And then when I realized that I wanted to make something, I was like, no, Adult Wednesday Addams, I'll make that.
Yeah.
And I'd worked with this director, Mike Bernstein, who on some of the sketches with my sketch group. And I always thought he was super talented and really cool and nice, and was like newly out of film school at Chapman. And I just emailed him like, hey, I'm making this web series, Adult Wednesday Addams. Do you want to direct it? He's like, yeah, send me the scripts. And I'm like, yeah, I have all those ready. And so I like to paint myself into a corner where I'm like responsible to other people.
Yeah.
So I wrote the scripts, and then we, out of my own savings and his, we made it for like, I think the first season was like $2,000 and all the
great.
favors in the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then...
So it blew up pretty quick?
No, well, the first season... So I did 2 seasons, and the first one was fall of 2013, and that one did very well. It was like, I would have anywhere between like 50 and 100,000 views on each one, but it took a little time to build. And I probably had like 20,000 subscribers or something. So it definitely was like a thing. And then I was a little bit like, I don't know if the Addams people are going to be mad about this. So I was kind of waiting, and I was doing some other stuff. And then a year went by, and I was like, well, and the people that loved it were like, when are we going to see more?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to make another season. This was a year later. And I did a Indiegogo and raised like $20,000.
Oh, that's great.
And then made the second season. And that one was the one that really blew up. Specifically, I had a catcalling one video, Wednesday Addams vs. Catcallers, that went super viral.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that, and it was like a nice lesson, I think, is that like, because I had already made so many, it wasn't just like that one video went viral. It's like all of a sudden people were able to watch everything, and they became fans of me instead of fans of the video.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a nice lesson of like, I felt like for so long I was making videos and they were just like, well, that disappeared into the void. Bye.
Right.
But then once people were watching my work, everything I had done mattered, and that was really like nice to feel. And then they ended up with like 250,000 subscribers, and got like interviews in People Magazine and Marie Claire and, LA Times and stuff like that. And that was very cool. And then like 2 months later, it got shut down by the Addams Foundation.
Explain to me exactly what happened and how they approached you. Because to me, it falls under parody law, doesn't it? You're making fun of an established brand.
Yeah, but parody is... the fair use, which is what parody falls under, is completely subjective.
Right.
And so it's really about whether the copyright holder wants to pursue legal action.
Right.
And whether there is gray area within the thing that is made.
Okay.
And For example, there is an Adult Wednesday Addams porn parody called Very Adult Wednesday Addams that is like beat for beat one of my episodes, and it's a porn. So this is a serious thing.
I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
And that is protected, is very protected. Porn parodies are very protected.
What?
Because isn't that the irony is the porn parody of my work of my parody is more protected than my parody.
That's crazy.
But it's because there are there's precedent. There's legal precedent.
Right.
That we've seen lawsuits be shut down because they've won.
Yeah.
With my thing, it falls really on, it would be up to like a judge, because I guess when the original thing is comedy, it's hard to say that something is a parody when the original is a comedy. There is precedent for it, but so it just like is tricky. And
so how did they reach out though? Did they say send a lawyer and say shut it down, or did they say we like what you're doing but we just don't want you to profit off it? Or can you not say?
I can't really talk about it. It was very abrupt, and it wasn't really a two-way conversation.
Okay. Did your dad represent you?
No, but I talked to lawyers. I mean, it was just like I almost went down the road of like really getting into it, but the risk of a lawsuit, like I just couldn't afford.
So you just obliged.
I just obliged because it would have been like, a legal battle that I would have been embroiled in. It could have been hundreds of thousands of dollars that I don't have. And